To the biggest and massive scientific symposium. We thank our sponsors, Elite and Technomed Electronics, for sponsoring the Stride 2021 International Physiotherapy Conference. I'm joined by my dear friend, Ms. Maitri Jain, for hosting this inaugural event. What a great time it is to be alive, hale, and healthy. And I just want to stress out that the fight against this pandemic is not over yet. So,
recording in progress.
So please be responsible and put your masks on and sanitize yourself. And in this moment, we thank our chief patron, Honorable Founder and Chancellor of Saveetha Institute of Medical and Technical Sciences, Dr. Veerayan, our patron and director of Saveetha Institute of Medical and Technical Sciences, Dr. Saveetha Rajesh, our Director of Academics of Saveetha Institute of Medical and Technical Sciences, Dr. Deepak Nallaswamy, our Advisory Board, Vice Chancellor of Saveetha Institute of Medical and Technical Sciences, Dr. Rakesh Kumar Sharma, our Registrar, Dr. D. Dhanasekaran, our Organizing Chairman and Principal of Saveetha College of Physiotherapy, Dr. Jagadisan, and our Organizing Secretary, Dr. Manikumar, and the faculty members.
A day without prayer is a day without blessing, and a life without prayer is a life without blessing. So, to remember the Almighty, I would call Miss Dimple to sing the prayer song.
Gajavadana Gananada Gajavadana Vinayaka Gajavadana Gananada Gajavadana Vinayaka Siddhividata Shivadanaya Buddhi Pratayaka Gajanana Siddhividata Shivadanaya Buddhi Pratayaka Gajanana Parvati Nandana Bhava Bhaya Bhanjana Parvati Nandana Bhava Bhaya Bhanjana Yuga Yuga Vandita Jaya Shri Ganesha Yuga Yuga Vandita Jaya Shri Ganesha Gajavadana Gananada Gajavadana Vinayaka.
Thank you, Dimple. The door of the soul should be left ajar to invite new experiences. So, to give away the welcome address, I would call upon our principal, Dr. A. Jagadishan, to give the welcome address.
Well, thank you, Maitri, for moving to me. It's a great pleasure for me to invite you all to this scientific and cultural mega meet. It's the Stride 21. First time we are launching online due to this pandemic. We are really worried that whether we can do this or cannot, but we have got very nice technical support, and we are ready to kickstart, gear up this mega scientific event that's going to run for 5 days non-stop, and parallelly running the scientific sessions, namely poster presentations and the paper presentations through online mode, and also a few cultural events online. And on 10th of December, we have planned for offline cultural events. So put together, this is going to be a 6 days show with a very nice blend of online webinar sessions, cultural and scientific sessions. I really invite every participant. More than 1,000 participants have registered for this event. That includes around 150 papers and around 50 posters and many cultural events. I invite everyone on board for this mega scientific and cultural event that's been organized traditionally from Saveetha College of Physiotherapy, the Stride conference, Stride 21. I welcome you all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. An event is not organized without an lead. And to lead us, I would call Dr. M. Manikumar to give the welcome address.
Thank you, Maitri. It is my great pleasure and honor to address this in this historical event, Stride 21 International Conference. I welcome you all, the national and international delegates, um, uh, students, faculty members from India and overseas, to attend the part of record, a world record. So I would like to share few lines about Stride International Conference. It has been conducting from 1995, and it is the sixth Stride International Conference. We are conducting once in 4 years by Saveetha College of Physiotherapy. It is so the next 5 days there will be plenty of knowledge sharing by renowned national and international faculty. The crux of this conference will be the use of digital technology for the first 5 days, which is adopted after outbreak of COVID-19. I I request all the faculty members, students to attend this and then gain knowledge from the Stride 21 International Conference. And last but not least, I would like to thank all our faculty members for cooperation in this conference to make great success. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now over to Mr. Ebenezer Charles.
It is my honor to welcome Mr. Vivek Nair, our official senior adjudicator of the Asia and India Book of Records, a very seasoned adjudicator who has witnessed and adjudicated over 1,000 plus records so far, spanning across India, Asia, Dubai, Malaysia, Cambodia, Singapore. He has also been a part of the records management team of the World Records Union, Vietnam. Ms. Shilpa and Ms. Vibha will be our record management moderators who will be viewing the online webinar session from the head office at Delhi, Faridabad. Stride 2021 is the 6th edition of the enormous International Physiotherapy Conference, which is held once every 5 years internationally, congregating students and speakers from all over the globe. As the whole world has shrunk itself into an online realm, this 6th edition of the Stride 2021 is aimed by the Saveetha College of Physiotherapy at being the massive webinar session for more than 120 hours with more than 240 speakers from all over the world connected and conducted through Zoom internationally. I want to mention that this is a world record attempt for the Asia and the India Book of Records. Now I am very pleased and privileged to welcome the moderators, Dr. Ramana and Dr. G. Aravind, for beginning this webinar marathon, and we hope you have an exciting online scientific expedition of a lifetime. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ebenezer, for inviting me. Good morning to one and all. It's my privilege to start this webinar. I'm going to invite Dr. Shastral Singh to start this webinar. Dr. Shastral Singh is a coordinator of the postgraduate program in the School of Physiotherapy, Amis University, Malaysia. He is expertised in neuroscience and sports science, and he is having more than 13 years of experience. And he has 23 certified courses, and he's a panel member of the editorial board and the scientific review committee. It is my pleasure to invite you, sir. And he's going to present on the topic of biopsychosocial approach to the rehabilitation.
Thank you, and very good morning to one and all.
Actually,
I'm very excited to be part of this international webinar because long back I visited Stride as a student when I was doing my UG somewhere around 2001 or 2. I don't remember exactly, but really, and it was such a great pleasure on the time, and I still remember all the moment. So thank you so much for inviting me, especially all the organizing committee members. Thank you. So shall I share my screen if you allow me?
Yes, sir. I will share your screen.
Okay. I will share myself if you don't mind. Is that okay?
Okay, sir. No problem. You can share it. Sir, if it is not a problem, we will share it. So it
Yeah,
will.
please carry on, please. Please,
So,
you can.
just a minute, sir. We will share your screen.
Okay, carry on.
Sir, is it visible to you?
Yes. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Fine.
Sir,
Alright.
before starting the webinar, it is 30 minutes for your session, sir. So kindly adhere to time so that other speakers will not be in trouble.
Sure.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
More than enough.
For changing the slide, if you ask, I will change the slide, sir.
All right.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Shall I start now?
Yes, sir. You can start.
Okay. So, dear participants, thank you very much for gathering today to just going to get my ideas on this topic. Actually, this topic nowadays rolling a lot all over because this topic has so many content which really we supposed to implement in our day-to-day practice. We will be discussing in detail. That's what we are here. So this biopsychosocial approach to rehabilitation, a physiotherapeutic approach, the reason behind taking this topic is we are going to actually compare with our traditional way of approaching a patient, treating a patient, and the current approach. And we will see what are the components which we are lacking and why there was so much of delay in treatment. Or if you ask me my opinion, I would like to remove the word treatment as a physiotherapist because I believe more as a rehabilitation aspects. So we will see how this is going to be. Next slide, please. So here in the biosocial psychosocial aspects, when you see here, we are going to use body, mind, brain, and your social response all together. If we compare our traditional methodology, what we used to follow for treatment aspects, so there we treat a patient on the systematic approach only. We used to it like our patient, if they have only the symptoms, we focus on the symptoms and we try to overcome, for example, pain or stiffness or whatever we have. But right now, the approach is changing where we won't focus only on the symptom what the patient is having. We are going to deal with the body as a biological aspect and mind as a psychological aspects and then social context. So this all we are going to blend together and we will see the patient as a whole, not as a individual components. So this is the main core component behind talking about this topic. So next, please. So here, actually the objective, my objective of this total presentation, only two things I wanted to pass to you. Number one, rather than looking a patient or a client as an individual, we have to look into the multiple components. So not only about the symptom, we see from top to bottom, like we see about his mental health also, we are going to see about his physical health also, then his social health also, how is going to be or how it is correlated to each other on the rehabilitation. That will be clearly evident, that we will see. And when we see a client as a whole, definitely the outcome, whatever we get, that is going to help us in complete rehabilitation of the person. That's what I don't want to use the word treatment. I just wanted to focus myself on rehabilitation aspect because treatment is going to be focused in one particular component alone. So here we are using the whole many components like body, mind, and social aspects. That's why it's better to use rehabilitation. And I think the physiotherapy profession, or now we have grown up in that aspects right now, where the definition of this treatment rehabilitation should be defined more. Next one, please. So here I have talked about, you can say we have biology, where we are talking about the genetic makeup, like our biological system, like whatever the problems, signs, and symptoms we are getting. Mental health, what is the impact of diseases over our mental health and behavior? Psychology, how we are going to react. Social and culture, and what is the impact of this type of problems on our social and cultural relationship. So for example, I will tell you, if a patient is approaching to you, take it as any example, a pain in knee due to some kinds of osteoarthritis or whatever it is. So if a patient is coming to you with the pain, we as a physiotherapist, we will do the assessment, and then we will create certain problem list, and we try to focus on whatever the problem we find. Take one example of pain. So we focus on keep on working on reducing the pain. Now as a physiotherapist, we are only focusing, this is the physical impact. But have you ever thought, due to this pain, what is the mental health of that particular client? Is he able to focus on activities of daily living, especially his work or his social activities, able to participate in any kinds of activities? Is he focused completely to his work or not? This aspect definitely we are not thinking. We just wanted to reduce the pain and discharge the patient. But when you see a patient as a whole, you will understand very well that the pain itself has a greater impact. It will completely, almost you can say, make the patient to be sedentary. His mind will be always focused on pain, even though he's trying to do something else, which will directly impact on the productivity of the client. So we have to, this psychosocial aspects is totally focusing. When you rehabilitate, you don't only rehabilitate on the physical aspects alone. We have to work on his biological aspect, his mental health, his behavior, social and cultural context also. So we have to focus in human being as a whole, not as an individual component. Next, please. So here is the pain. No matter what the problem patient is having, we do have certain priorities, like we have pain, stiffness, strength, coordination, balance, whatever we say. But pain is the main culprit, which always disturbs, and it needs a priority to treat. So as a traditional way of thinking, we only focus on physical impact alone. Like, okay, we have pain. Where is the pain? What is the nature? What causes? That's all. But we never thought how it is going to impact on your mental health, psychological aspects, how it is going to impact on your social factor. For example, you see, when we talk about biological, the origin of the pain, it could be genetic, physiology, neurochemistry, or tissue health related, that we know all very well. But its impact on psychology, you can see here. Hypervigilance means you will be totally focused. Just we all experience the pain. If we have any pain anywhere in our body, we cannot just, okay, hold it. I can focus somewhere else. No, our part of mind will be continuously focusing on that particular area, even though no matter what we are performing. So hypervigilance, we will keep on vigilance about there is something which is keep on nagging us. That distraction, that distract you from your performance, that will distract you to give your 100%. So your productivity is going to be compromised. You will have depression. Depression is directly because if part of your brain or your brain is continuously focusing on certain aspects, it's going to tired. When it's tired, definitely it will do it. So you will have anxiety. That tiredness will reflect when you're talking to somebody. Don't disturb me. Anger. So just you can see if somebody is having pain. Even I have personally experienced, I had a patient who had a severe low back pain, and we were trying to assess the client, and suddenly he got hyper excited and said, stop asking so many questions. I'm in pain, treat me first, then you talk. So this type of behavior, what do you think? Pain is somewhere else, but his reaction is anger, anxiety, how it is affecting the mental health of the client. And when the patient is having this type of problem, then you check the social status, socio-economic status, skepticism, operant, social learning, social support, everything is going to be. Now he have to be depend on others. If he can go by himself to clinic or hospital, that's fine. If no, he needs somebody to assist. He needs some modification in home, somebody to take care. Somebody have to work for him, or he have to go for sick leave. It will stop him to interact and go for family functions, cultural events, and so on, sporting activities. This will keeps on taking him away and away and away from his productivity. So this pain circle point is not only related to the physical component. It is really and directly related to psychological and social component. Everything is correlated to each other. If we are only functioning and working on trying to treat the biological aspects, definitely our outcome or the expectation, whatever we have, it's not going to be 100%. That's what, until and otherwise, we focus on psychological and social aspects also. Next slide, please. So here you can see another point here is in biosocial aspect, it needs certain things is important to handle. Like we always have to go in multidisciplinary. Usually in our traditional method, we have one clinic, we have a physiotherapist, and he treat directly to the patient, and that's all. We incorporate any other team members like any social workers, occupational therapist, processing and orthotic technician and experts. We all know how many times it's very important that psychosocial aspects always and always it depends on your multidisciplinary approach. It is not a individual approach that have to be kept in mind. And with my personal experience also in clinical practices, I have always noticed whenever we have a multidisciplinary approach, the result or the duration of patients inside the clinic or the hospital is always less compared to when we handle the cases individually. So biopsychosocial aspects always say utilize all the available health sector which can fasten the process of recovery and rehabilitation. Next slide, please. You see the traditional view, as I told you, we just go individually. We focus on only physical component of the pain or deformity or any type of disability or issues. We don't focus on another aspect. That have to be changed, and then we have to come to next slide, please. Biopsychosocial aspects of the rehabilitation. Here you can see it needs not only the physical approach, but it needs psychological approach. And to be honestly speaking, as a physiotherapist, we are not one of the gifted professionals. Those have this opportunity to spend direct time and maximum time with the client compared to any other sectors of healthcare professionals. So we as a physiotherapist, we are not only involved only in the treating the patients, but we have to be work sometime as a psychological counselor or even a social worker also. So our role is entirely different. We have to incorporate multiple aspects in rehabilitation, rehabilitating the patients. Next one, please. So when we clinically correlate these biopsychosocial aspects, just to see how it is going to be. So if somebody is having illness or any type of pain or you can say the disability or any injury, they will have so many types of emotional breakdowns in the form of depression, anxiety, and fear. A simple example I'll tell you. If somebody is trying to a sports person, you take an example. If he is a 100-meter sprint runner and he's suddenly got some kinds of injury, you rehabilitate it. Next time when you bring him back to the field and you see, he will be cautious, protective, defensive in nature. His offensive nature, no, that will go. And as a physiotherapist, it will take longer time for us to break down. Until and otherwise, you work on the mental health of the, you have to bring the confidence to the patient. Yes, you can do it again. So this is a natural phenomenon. If we get injured, next time we become so conscious. So what right now we do, we first treat physically, and then when the patient is not able to perform, then we ask him, okay, later on you go and meet this psychologist or psychiatrist or a counselor or whoever related to this. This takes longer time, and even this duration may have effect on productivity of your client. But biopsychosocial aspect says, when you handle the patients, that time itself you approach in this way. You use physical aspects, you use psychological aspects, you use social aspects, everything you contribute, including that your rehabilitation. So when you rehabilitate patients with all these components, your client comes out with complete rehabilitation. It's not treated, it's rehabilitated. He's back to his normal life. Next one, please. So here you can see, so what we do is we are focusing completely on the illness rather than the disease alone. We have a biology or physiology, symptom, dynamic risk factor, psychology, environment, social factor, and all these factors are collectively included in rehabilitation of the patient. Next one, please. Psychosocial aspects say you should have a management approach. management means the job have to be done in the complete way. It should not be done in a part way. It says you work on the biological aspect, you work on the mental health, psychological aspect. You see the impact of his illness on how it is going to reflect on his social life. So all the things you have to work together. You have to talk to the patient. When you talk, they will come up. If take simple example, if a patient is coming to you for 10 days of treatment schedule, how he is going to involve? I'll tell you one case in a scenario. I had one case. He was cop and he got injured in brachial plexus, and he was reported to my clinic, and he has been given 6 months only time to get back to his job because he's a cop. He needs his both the hands to be functional.
Do you hear me? Sir, do you hear me? So there is a technical issue. So speaker is not, he will be joining soon. So our speaker is talking about the biosocial aspect of the pain. So the biosocial aspect is very much important in treating the pain, because only we are treating physical activity, physical pain as we are seeing the pain as a physical part, but the mental part is very much important in treating the patient. That's my idea, and even the speaker also talking the same, because the pain is just a symptom. The symptom is not only a physical thing, the mental thing also takes place. For example, the mental central sensitization, or in the case of chronic pain syndromes, and the central of the brain activity and the psychological part plays a major role. So it is a thing we should understand. So the psychological part plays a major role, and the social aspect. For example, if the patient is too poor, he can't afford for a treatment, this also plays a major role in the rehabilitation, because it causes a negative impact in the treatment, I think. So we should look into this, and the speaker is going to join, I think. Wait a minute, we will see. He will join, so he will continue his lectures. Sir, can you hear me? Okay. Sir, can you unmute your mic? I think it is not on. Okay, we need to continue till the speaker arrives. It is a technical lag, and he will joining us soon. So we are talking about the psychological part, and psychological thing is very much important to us. So we need to focus more on the psychological aspect rather than a physical aspect, because the physical aspect, the pain, the increases. For example, the pain threshold increases with the psychological aspect, because if I am stressing more, then the histamine secretion and bradykinin secretions will be more, so that our pain will be exaggerated rather than a normal pain. For example, and you all know that, and you all aware that the pain has a connection with the emotional center. The emotional center and the pain is also connected with the autonomous nervous system. So the psychological aspects can increase your pain and increase your threshold to the pain. So it is very important to address the psychological things rather than only addressing the physiological things and the physical aspects of the pain. That is our speaker is speaking, and he is emphasizing on a psychosocial approach. So it is very much needed nowadays, but we are not following the same thing. Okay, so I think.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, sir. I can hear
I have
you.
come through different systems. Okay, so I'll not be using the video sir, right now.
Okay, sir. Okay. No problem.
Okay. So just jump to the that slide, sir.
Okay, the next slide I will change.
Yeah. Okay, so we are talking about the impact of illness on human behavior. So, am I audible? Right?
You are audible, sir. You are audible.
All right. So here you can say anxiety, fear, this type of behavior where your psychological health, or you can say the mental health, will be totally changed. You won't be what you were earlier because you have a different focus on your pain or disability, or you will be afraid to participate what you used to do earlier, even your game activities or social activities or whatever we do. Next slide, please. So chronic illness patients, they are not only physically involved. You can say we have physical decongestion syndrome, no doubt at all, which have impact on your strength, your flexibility, your stamina, but it does have its impact on your mental health and your social health also that have to be taken care of. Next one, please. So here you can see if there is a chronic illness, we have a mental deconditioning like dilemma. We have become totally avoidant, lost touch with responsibility. You have simple example I tell you. If you have some kinds of family, you can say unstable family behavior, then and you it will have direct impact on your production productivity. How it is like you will be going to your office, you won't be on time, you won't be completing the task which you are already given up, and you will be so lethargic and lazy because your focus won't be there. Your mental health is not that much supportive where you can do the allotted task and all. So your physical deconditioning, we have a straightway relation over your mental deconditioning, and then total productivity and performance will be compromised. So this is what biopsychosocial aspect says, that if you only focus on your physical deconditioning syndrome alone, then you cannot expect complete rehabilitation because still you have not rehabilitated the patient or client on the psychological aspect and the social aspects. Next slide, please. So chronic illness, totally loss of motivation, family, physical activities, focus on career. And when your focus on career is completely gone, your lack of motivation interferes with total occupation. So your productivity, even you will question mark your job also. And that will directly link to your finance. So when it is linked to your finance, then definitely you will not be able to manage all your requirements of daily living, and that will initiate family issues, emotional background with the family, disturbance, and so on. So now you can understand, yes, how this rehabilitation is not only related to physical aspect, it is related to your mental health also. And if that component is not touched, how the impact can be. So please understand that your loss of motivation is not only involving your physical activities and family, it is also going to affect your occupation, your job security, financial burden, and so on. Next slide, please. So to overcome this, all the problems, we have to include these biopsychosocial approaches. We have to work as a team. Then only the outcome will be completed. Next slide. So First and most important aspect, it's a don't consider your patient as a client. Patients are patients. So you have to, that doesn't mean understand your patient's feeling. Once you feel the pain, you will have better understanding of the problem. So you can plan the treatment. So please recognize the relationship. Do consider them as a patient, not as a client who is a source of something else. The most important factor, they say, you have to approach your client in a way where they feel confidence, not less confident. Next slide, please. Use self-awareness for diagnostic and therapeutic tool. Feel yourself, make yourself feel what your patient is feeling. Until you yourself, if you, doesn't feel what your patient is feeling, it is difficult to understand what problem your patient is feeling. Of course, as a physical level, yes, we do understand. We have certain criteria, tools to understand you have a degenerative problem or you have pain or this and that. But certain tools you have to make by your own. You have to use your own senses to understand the mental status of your client. For that, you should realize yourself as a patient. Next one, please. History and the concept of life. See, collecting history is not only about a matter of documentation. It's getting into their lifestyle to know what is the main root cause of their issues related to their physique, related to their mind, to their social activities, and so on. So when we collect history, we should go along with the flow of the patient. So get into their life. Next one, please. When you are handling, must decide which aspects of biological, psychological, social domains are most important. Of course, in the biopsychosocial aspects, we are handling all the components together. But we individual cases, sometime before applying any therapeutic exercise equipment, of course we do all the time, but they may need extra attention. So we have to work psychological aspects first. Well aware, so directly applying treatment. So that depends. And you have to modify. So always focus on multi. Really think that you wanted to bring benefit to your patient, then it must be, of course, you will. We are responsible for the recovery of our patients. We should not be selfish. Or you can say the close professionals who can help them for the patient. So multi. Next one, please. So at the last, you know, from this presentation, nothing much. Just remember this. Don't treat a person individually. Treat as a whole component. When you think about your client as a whole, definitely you will focus on mind, you focus on body, focus on soul. So when we rehabilitate, we are not treating, we are rehabilitation an individual. When he walks out, he will be completely normal as an individual. Not only symptomatic treatment for the particular disease. So this is my take-home point of the presentation. Thank you. I think I'm done. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your wonderful speech, sir.
Sorry for the network issues. Apology for that.
No problem, sir. No problem. It is very thought-provoking, and thank you for enlightening us with your speech, sir.
Thank you very much.
Sir, from the audience panel, they are asking about the evidence for objective measurement. How we will objectively measure? Is there any chance for a psychosocial model? We can't.
Yeah. We do have. Of course, this is going to measure the soft skills, right?
Okay, sir. Okay.
So definitely this is the soft skill, and soft skill tools are definitely not like other normal, so many available tools. Of course, they are as complicated, but we need to focus more on the psychological aspects. We have certain standard to follow, like when we are talking about the mental health. So we have mental health approaches, the criteria to check if the patient, how the client is responding to different questionnaires. We have certain questionnaires. Based on that, we can judge, okay, what is the mental health status of the patient. Based on that, we can determine that one. Yeah.
Yeah, sir, thank you. There's another question from the audience side.
Yes, please.
Which is, what are the challenges can be faced by a physiotherapist while taking a biosocial approach? What are the things to consider on it?
Yeah, okay. Most important thing is, as I told you, you have to develop a relationship, understanding the patient. For example, a simple example I'll tell you. If there are so many senior staff, those you have well practiced experience in life, I have very little, but in that, what I feel personally, I used to treat cerebral palsy children a lot in my previous workplace and all. So many cases. The most difficult part, what I felt when I approached the client, is to make them understand what I wanted to do. I'm sure everybody would have faced this. It's easy to convince educated and adult patients what we wanted to do, but in case of approaching first day itself to do all the exercises and different treatment protocol, it's better to start knowing each other first. Let's have a friendship first to understand few days. This can take 2, 3, 4 days or 5 days also. In this period, the client, the baby, and you yourself this is what they say. The relationship. So we have to first develop the relationship and then go to the treatment approach. This applies to every case, not only pediatrics. This is what I mean to say.
Okay, there is another question also from audience side.
Yeah.
And they are asking about the example to implement in a neurological patient. How to implement this approach in a neurological patient?
That's what just now I gave an example. I gave one CP example. Is right.
Okay.
One example neuro I gave you. Like first day itself, all of you you have certain protocol. A lot.
Okay.
They will not have any. You will not have any cooperation. My point is why this is happening. If baby is crying, you know what is the complications we are going to. We are going to all worsen the conditions more and more. And if baby is happily participating in your rehabilitation, definitely outcome is going to be very fast. So to have a happily participation, we have to approach biopsychosocial. Develop the relationship. First few days you engage with the baby. Let's understand each other. Play. Let you engage with the baby until baby started laughing and playing with you. That shows that now baby is feeling secure and confident to go along with you, to take your command. So once baby started to take your command, you can do whatever treatment technique you wanted to implement. But if these things are not happening, that means we are forcing baby to do something. So definitely this is not what the rehabilitation say. They need cooperation. As a physiotherapist, we are not a medical doctor. We prescribe medicine and either you like it or no, you take it, you will get all right. No. The core of physiotherapy profession is cooperation from the patient. Their participate. If participation is important. Until they participate, definitely rehabilitation is not going to be as expected. So for that, you have to attack mentally, psychological aspect on mental aspect to get their cooperation. This is how we go. Exactly agree with is go hand by hand cognitive therapy approach. It's very important. Most of us we won't focus on that.
Yes, sir, thank you. And one last doubt from me.
Yes, sir.
We can manage psychological aspect easily, but how can we manage social aspect? Like how can we modify the environmental factors with the patient?
Exactly. Yeah, this is a good question you ask. This need little additional what you say uh, extra approach. Actually, this is not part of our rehabilitation, but indirect part. I will say how. I told you the example of that cop. So he has 6 month time to get recovered and back to his job. Then he was so upset, and I diagnosed like he has a minor injury to brachial plexus. There are chances of recovery, but it may take time. So I called his boss and I told him, please don't fire him in 6 months. Please give him a little more time. because and I assure that he will be all right at least to do his job, at least a table desk job. So he convinced. So this aspect you see when I make a call, this is the social component of that rehabilitation. It is not mandatory for us, but if we include, that brought a smile on my client or patient face. He got confidence that yes, I got some more time. And in 4 to 5 months itself, he was ready to go back to job. So most of the time you will be successful, but there are chances you may not. But we take what is more positive aspects rather than the negative aspects. That's my point here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for enlightening us, and we will take. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. And my special thank to organizing committee, Kishan sir and Mani Kumar sir, and all Pratap sir and everybody, those who have done such a wonderful thing organizing this strike. Thank you so much for giving the opportunity.
Okay, sir. It's a privilege to have you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. This is Dr. Pratap. Just wanted to say you thanks for accepting our invite and being as a speaker for the session, sir. It's
honor is mine, sir.
Yeah, honor as true, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Arvind, sir, please kindly proceed.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your speech, sir. Thank you, sir. Next, I am going to invite Dr. Prakash to present his webinar. Dr. Prakash is an associate professor at the Ashok Patel Institute of Physiotherapy. He has 15 years of experience. His results, his interest is about mobility, and he has more than 25 publications in Web of Science and 6,000 citations. And he is going to speak about how physiotherapists can publish the article in Web of Science. It's a pleasure to have you, sir. Can you hear me? Sir?
Yeah, I can hear.
Yeah, sir. We will share your PPT and you can start your slides, sir.
Sure. Thank you.
So is it visible to you?
Yeah. Just let me know whenever you want me to start.
Can you switch on your video, sir, so that...
yeah, actually I started. It is showing it has started, except that it's showing blank.
Oh, okay, sir. You are facing a technical issue over there. Okay, sir. No problem. You can continue, sir.
Fine. Right. Can I start?
Yes, sir. You can start.
Right. Okay. So good morning, everyone. For all who have joined on a Sunday morning, you must be very motivated. I hope your motivation stays until the end of today's presentations. Before starting, I just want to thank Saveetha College for inviting me to deliver this presentation. I consider this as a privilege to presenting for the audience of Strike. So let's move on to today's topic, which is how physiotherapists can publish in Web of Science and Scopus Index Journal. When they first approached, I thought of delivering a topic which is supposedly a hot topic, because I've been asked this question more frequently, that how do we publish it? And there's a lot of interest in this question, and I also find a lot of people are wants to publish, but they are struggling to do so, right? So that's the background for why I have decided to talk about specifically how we can publish, right? Yeah, can you change the slide? Okay, next slide, please. Yes, so the problem is that many people are the universities or the UGC, NAC, and many statutory bodies insisting that we publish in this particular indexed journals. Indexed is now considered as Scopus Index and Web of Science Index journals. So why we are encouraged to publish in journal, why it is difficult. These are all areas that I'm going to discuss. Next slide, please. Before moving on, I've just put this slide not just to show that boast my publication and so on, but the point I'm actually trying to make is that it is actually possible for us to do that. So this is that's the point that I want to make. It's not that it's impossible. It is pretty much possible, but it's a different kind. Right. So these are the 4 questions that I want to address in this particular webinar within 30 minutes. The question number 1, why should we improve research productivity both in quality and quantity? We, I mean as a physiotherapist. Why we have been constantly asked to produce more and more research. That's a downside to it. But in general, improved research productivity is actually good. Second question I will be addressing is why we have been asked to publish specifically journals that are published. What is the background to it? Previously, people used to publish in many, whatever journal that is available. So why these indexes? The third question I will be addressing is on why is it hard to publish? Why we find it too challenging to get this done. And finally, some simple solutions, which I think it's mostly my personal view, that or how I managed to do, or how people who collaborated with me managed to do, and basically my personal opinion on how this can be done. Right. Next slide, please. Yeah, next slide. Yes. Publish, right? Now, many of us might think we have to publish because we want to get our institutions needs to get a grade, or we will get certain H index or certain citation and so on. While these are maybe true, but in a larger perspective, at the professional level, improving research productivity is associated with improving better patient care. That is very, very important, because as a professional, we are a healthcare profession. Our primary function is to deliver patient care. In academia or in clinical practice also, there is a large difference, and there is an artificial difference is created that research and clinical, these are 2 different things. I would argue that they are completely not 2 different things. They are very much related because research is how patient care has improved so far. So you just take an example of patient care for COVID, which we are all very, very familiar with. So how did COVID care has improved? When the COVID struck, we didn't know what to do, but now we know there is a vaccine that we should be taking, right? So that's a simple. So how did we get there? Because there is extensive research done and vaccine is developed. Not only that it is developed, it is tested in clinical trials. We found that the efficacy, harm, and we have certain percentage of efficacy for each vaccine. And then that knowledge is transferred to clinical practice. And now the spread of COVID has considerably come down so far. So that is why we should be doing more good research. That's very important, right? So to think that research is different or clinical practice is different is the idea comes only from ignorance of what research is. So we have to do a lot of research, good research, because if you want to improve patient care, we still have quite a lot of problem that needs solution, and research is a problem solving tool, the best available problem solving tool that we have so far. The next is development and recognition of our profession, both in India and across the globe. Now, that all of us want a better recognition as a professional, and also our profession wants a better recognition. So how do we get it? how is some countries, say, for example, if you take in which countries we have a better recognition, if you take to some US, Canada, or Australia, these are all the countries, they developed better recognition, both from general public, government, and so on and so forth, not just because they are US. It is because US or that's a high income countries, right? Because there is extensive amount of effort were put in to show that what we do actually has a value for public health, right? So how do we show that? By publishing more quality, good research, and therefore we will be recognized both across in India, in the country, and also across the globe. So we cannot simply be saying that we are doing so well, we are making so much contribution and so on, because everybody can say that, but we needed research work to justify what we claim. So it is important that we produce good research so that our recognition and development on the profession will advance the more research work we do. And right now, if you are working in academia, all of us know the institutional ranking, state level, central level, or the ranking that is required. So the research productivity is considered to be an important criteria or contributor to ranking. So at the professional level, these are all key reasons why we should work on improving productivity. Next, at the personal level, okay, these are all fine. What do I get if I publish more work? What do I get? If you're asking that, a scholarly reputation, especially because most research is done by academicians, the scholarly reputation is key for our personal growth, career growth, and development. And I don't think I need to explain this more. So we all know that how this is actually the essential for career growth and development. Right. So these are all really, really important reasons why we should be producing, doing more. So the next question is, we as Indian physiotherapists, are we producing more good research? We addressed this question a few years ago. Can you change the slides, please? Yeah, we addressed this question a few years ago. We have reviewed all research work done by Indian physiotherapists from 2004 to 14. 2004 is the first research article that are published by Indian physiotherapists. This is, we have only evaluated publications in Medline Index, which we thought is a good index. So we only in 2004, first work is being published. Should it surprise us? Should it disappoint us? That's for you to consider, because we as a profession have existed for more than 50 years, I believe. But it is understandable, only after 2000, there's a lot of development. On the right side of your screen, you will see a chart that shows the number of, that is plotted against number of publications for each year. As the chart clearly shows, we started the publication or research work has only started improving from 2010. The study was, we published it in 2014, 15, but we have done up to 14, right? So of course, we might have better productivity now, but nevertheless, the productivity, we started talking about research only in mid 2000s. And 27 studies are published in 4 to 9, and we have most of it, 87% of articles are published in next 5 years. But this would look like we are doing well, but if you look at the data very closely, the majority of these publications comes only from few selected institutions, actually 2 or 3, and we have from a 1 or 2 particular states only. So the growth is not equally distributed, right? Which means that our productivity is low, and also the quality also we evaluate. I'll show you in the next slide, right? So this is really something that we needed to work with. This work we have done along with Mr. Hariom and Mr. Sarvan Kumar, who is actually a faculty, currently working as a faculty in the host organization, which is Saveetha, right? So this really shows that we have a lot of work to do, right? Next slide, please. This is in another publication. We have looked into quantity and quality of RCTs published, right? Because both when we improve productivity, we can't just show numbers. We also have to show what is that they are a good quality work. Quality here we determine in terms of study design quality, how well the study was designed well, and also how well they are described in the paper. If it's not described well, then you really can't know what exactly that they done, and also you cannot replicate to test one's findings. Okay, so so what we have found in here is there are 45 randomized controlled trials that are published during that year, and again 45 we need, and most of it are not on conditions that we commonly see. It's a surprising finding for us, because we have mostly low back pain and diabetes and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease work is done, but there are lots of other important patient group we see, such as stroke, osteoarthritis, neck pain, shoulder pain, but unfortunately you can see that this work is not being done much. We need to explore why, right? So we have really a lot of work to do as far as our research work is concerned. The second important point about quality is we evaluated using a Pedro score. Basically, it tells us the study design, the internal validity of the research, which is very important. It shows that it is pretty much low. It was not designed well. My explanations are we have given very less importance to design aspects, which is very important, because if there are errors in the methods, then the results are not really trustworthy, and there is a lot of uncertainty about what we might find, right? So this is a big issue. Even though whatever quantity is done, the quality is really low. In addition, reporting key characteristics that should be reported or not reported. Say, for example, sample size calculation is rarely reported in most of the studies. I believe these findings might have improved in the last 5-6 years so far. So this is really, I hope so, right? But this is the what we say the status quo of our research productivity. This is from where that we needed to improve, and that's why publication in doing good quality research, and therefore doing good quality publication is essential. Next slide, please. Right. So the next question, as I've said, that why we have to publish in this particular index? Why they are relevant? Why not other journals? That's the question that we are going to address. Before I'm going to explain what it is. You need to understand the background for why we have come. Why now the statutory bodies such as UGC or National Accreditation Council all are insisting that it is published in certain journals only. What's the background to it? I'll explain that background first, then you will understand the reasons why, if you don't know already. Next slide, please. Right. So there's a lot of bad science that is going on. I put it as a pandemic because it's just not specific to a particular country or region. It is across the globe. It is very well recognized. What do I mean by bad science? Is that research is supposed to be conducted seen as a pursuit of truth, but unfortunately, with many changes that goes across, many policy changes or personal circumstances of many researchers, conflicts of interest, financial incentives. For these reasons, many research now is not really conducted for pursuit of truth, and there are many other reasons for other than the pursuit of truth. I don't want to explain much in it. I believe most of us know what motivates many of us to do research. But this motivations other than pursuit of truth has led to researchers adopting less than optimal ways of doing research. And to be specific to this topic, they have started using strategies, especially when it comes to publication, that are not really considered as a good strategy. And this has been recognized very well now. Next slide, please. Right. So for nearly past 20 years or so, there's a lot of many researchers across the globe have raised this, people who are publishing, because there's a lot of incentives for publication. There's a lot of pressure for publication, publish or perish sort of scenario that exists across the globe. Many people have started publishing in what we call predatory journals. And predatory journals are basically the journals that publish any sort of things that we actually send. They don't even read, and there is no editorial board, just on paper editorial board. There is no peer review. There is basically nothing except what transacts is you pay money and you get published. This is lead to big issue, right? Really a big issue, in a sense. The magnitude of the problem is so huge that a recent 2 years ago, a newspaper conducted investigation. They found that this is across the university, starting from VCs of the universities, IITs, professors, and every institution that we thought is reputable, all have published in a predatory journal. This has really become a big pandemic. The problem is, next slide, please. So as a result, UGC has come up and they said that we are going to fix this issue, and they've blacklisted many journals which are usually known to be predatory. And that is where they have come up with, there has to be a criteria set for certain journals, right? That's where slowly the indexing part has become more relevant, when the UGC has started recommending that we will publish only in indexed journal, which is expected to have certain quality standards. Next slide, please. Yeah, so as I've said, this is even discussed in the parliament. Issues were raised, MPs have raised this, ministers responded, and finally they have come to that this needs to be stopped, right? And this is how why publication in a indexed, that is Scopus indexed and Web of Science indexed journal, has become a norm in many universities now, because all higher education institutes are regulated by UGC. Now UGC has mandated that these researchers, faculty, scientists who are working in universities should avoid predatory journals. Next slide. Right, so this is, I really hope, if you have time, go and read this journal. This is the deputy chairman, I think, of UGC, right? So you can read and learn what are all the more, if you want to know more about why, the background for why you should be reading this article. So next, the one question specifically. So why, if some people might ask that, okay, if it is indexed in Scopus and Web of Science, does that mean that they all are good? And some might even come up and point to certain journals which are indexed in these journals, these indexing services, say that this journal is also not so good. While it may be true, it is not that high quality standards that but what we can be fairly sure is that pointed out predatory journals entering into Scopus. But Scopus has responded to it by removing certain journals, right? So there are data available. So it's not the best standard, but given the available option, seems to be better way to avoid. So this is why now everybody has to publish or expected to publish in index journals. Next slide, please. Right. See, the third question is, why is it so challenging to publish in these journals? Next slide, please. Yeah, there are many challenges out there. I've just listed few. Again, this is what I found in my own experience, is that the first reason is the quality of research done is very poor, in a sense that mostly not deliberately, but due to lack of knowledge about the study design, and also lack of understanding that the amount of time one should do to prepare a research proposal. Mostly academic research proposals are prepared in a hurry because there is a deadline and so on. So that leads to a lot of compromise. And then I see many worry after proposal is submitted, then they say, oh, this is not right. This has to change, and so on and so forth. Right. So that is the most bigger problem. So you really have to spend a lot of time in reading extensively if you want to come up with a good research, because these publications are basically byproducts of good research. So if we're really not doing a good research, then we really can't expect to be published in good journal. It is as simple as it, right? So in most institutions, you really need some quality control measures to avoid less than optimal or less than good quality research being approved. So once that is approved, then there is very little, in my view, we can expect. Right. Once that's that, the focus on data collection has to stop. The focus should be on preparing good quality research. That means you really have to spend a lot of time reading what is already done. Other reasons are lack of good leadership in research. Many institutions do not have leadership positions in research. I really hope that in future that happens. That you dean of research, or even at the institution level, you needed a leadership position that is given for research, position given for people who are really doing good research. If that happens, I think these things can change. But that is also one of the reasons people looking for mentors or experts, but many people finding it difficult to find them. Status quo bias, this is common for many things. Many of us find it very difficult to change our own ways. We just set on our ways and we don't want to change, but times have changed, so we needed to evolve, right? And other shortcuts, copy-paste culture, this is considered a shortcut now. Rather than reading a lot of research, using a specific shortcut that they want to publish research. So you just find one so-called parent article and do as it is. That's a really not a right good way of doing it. And that is really one of the reasons why we can't really do better research, because when you just copy some other work and try to change, we are doing it in India, sort of rational, then it's difficult to publish, because reviewers and editors won't be very much convinced, because an article already exists. We just can't say because in India we want to do. We needed more good reasons. And finally, about good writing, because good journals expect good writing, right? So it needs to be written well also. So there is, I don't know if anybody has considered this as a problem, but it's a really a problem that writing is poor. Writing, I don't mean English. English language editing is always easier, but ability to convey and make some good arguments when you're in your introduction and discuss some essential points that's really takes a lot of effort and knowledge. Unfortunately, we have not recognized yet. So these are all the reasons I think it's very challenging. Next slide, please. Right. So the last question. So, okay, these are the problem, how we are going to change it, right? I have listed few important options, few important strategies, which I think is important. And I'll be open enough if you have other suggestions. This is, in my view, what needs to happen if we want us to publish in these journals. Next slide, please. Right. So I have listed both at the personal level and institutional level what changes that has to happen for us to be able to publish, right? On a personal level, one has to really read extensively, not just reading abstract, but reading extensively. There is no shortcut for reading, because good writing comes from reading. More you read, you really understand what is going on at a personal, at a particular research area. And we should be able to discuss it with your colleagues and others. You needed a discussion forum to discuss what you found. And you, especially if you're a novice researcher, you really have to spend a lot of time discussing what you read and then repeat the whole cycle. This has to happen. Otherwise, we cannot prepare a good research ideas, good research proposal, or a good publication. Research skills, again, methodological skills, most people seem to lack, really important, and literature review skills. I don't know if it is even recognized as a problem. Poor literature review skill is the most number one problem, according to my view. You really have to improve your skills in how to do scoping reviews, systematic reviews, how do you synthesize information. These are all very important process we should go through. Collaborate with experienced senior researchers with good publication record. This is really a problem many young researchers find, because they really don't have good mentors available. So this, but they have to search, find, and develop some rapport with them, and offer your help. And this is really important. If you don't, it's very difficult for young researchers, novice researchers, just to start doing one research and publication and expect a publication. It's really hard. So you need to collaborate with experienced senior researchers, right? And also that one needs to plan well, right? So this planning is nearly very poor planning is also a reason. So we needed to learn to plan and stick to that plan. At the institutional level, these are my suggestions, that one more institution which wants to improve higher publication rate in journals have to develop effective and sustainable quality control measures. Research quality control measures in many places are basically non-existent. So if you don't have sufficient quality control measures, then you really don't have good quality work being done, and therefore may not be published in other journals. And invite people who are having, because if you don't have it in your own institution, invite people, find out people there in other places where they are, invite them and offer them a position and pay them well if you want to improve it. Right. And finally, the rewards and incentive system. Many institutions have this, but it can be counterproductive also. But I think one can be you can have a starter to start with it, but this can really go both ways. Next slide, please. Yeah, so that's all what I have. If you're having questions, you can ask now.
Sir, thank you, sir. It is a very nice presentation. Hope you will look for more publications next year after listening to your journal speech.
Yeah, hope so.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for this presenting this occasion. Thank you, sir.
Right.
Thank you. Next, Dr. Anita and Dr. Divya Lakshmi will be a moderator and continue the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Arvind. Good morning to one and all, and the attendee as well as ma'am. Good morning. So we have our next speaker, Dr. Dipali. Welcome, ma'am. Dipali, ma'am, is a lecturer at Akar College of Physiotherapy, Ahmedabad. She holds a certification course in the neural technical mobilizations, and she was awarded as the best EBS presentation in the year 2019. Ma'am, we welcome you to the session. You can move on with your presentation, ma'am.
And very innovative way of promoting the physiotherapy, promoting the normal quality of life in the persons who are already suffering with any kind of issues with their musculoskeletal or the neural health issues, right? So this is the main background of my today's presentation. So let's move ahead with this, right? And next, please. Yeah, so exergaming, which is exercise in gaming, is a term which is used for video games that also provide exercise, right? So exergames have one element of exercise and one element of the gaming. So by definition, a person has specifically defined this, which is an experimental activity in which playing exergames or any video games that require a particular physical exertion or movements that are more than sedentary activities, and it also includes strength, balance, and flexibility activities. So they involve from technology changes aimed at making video games more fun. The latest evolution of exergaming technology tracks full body movement in 3 dimensions, and it provides much accurate body measures of reaction time, mean acceleration of the movement, deceleration, and the quickness of the movements, and certain speed and the power associated with it. So this is how the exergames is improving and flourishing with the technological advances, which is combining with the physiotherapy. All right, so this is what we are going to discuss somehow right now. So the intervention of exergaming has reduced the boredom factor in the exercising, right? Most of people perceive exercise as a tedious necessity and invent a plethora of excuses to avoid it, right? So with exergaming, the mind focuses on the action on the monitor, and the exercises just happens like that. So the calories are burned and muscles contracted as one plays the exciting computer games without even realizing that one is actually exercising, right? So very much amazing thing, right? So some forms of exergaming can help you exercise your whole body rather than just your hands, as in conventional video games. So one can ride an exercise cycle and move the upper limbs to combat your enemy on the screen in front of you. Isn't this invincible, right? The next, please, ma'am. So some of the games can improve your reflexes and reduce your reaction time. So professional sportsmen use these games as training tools to improve the primary sport. Some studies have certainly shown that surgical skills can be enhanced by indulging in exergamings, right? So this is how it also affecting in the medical science, right? So ambidexterity, which is writing with the 2 hands with the quick reactions and the basic psychomotor skills, stand to gain with the exergaming, right? Because it requires the control with both of the hands. So certainly it is provoking both of the brain lobes, both of the brain parts and everything, right? So it is enhancing the overall brain function as well. So for an instance, in virtual golf, the fun value of hitting the ball with the sweet spot is almost replicated. But the joys of walking in gardens and surroundings, that all definitely cannot be substituted, right? So reportedly, exergames are prone to a few injuries, like shoulder injuries is some of the common persons playing racket games on the computers are seen, as the racket is swinging vigorously without hitting the ball. Right? So the force which normally transmit to the ball is not transmitting in the ball and certainly absorbed by the shoulder. So this in repeated activity leads to stress disorders, which can result in the incapacitating, right? Please next. through exergaming can never replace conventional workout, but it is a boon to person who would never have exercised otherwise or are very much tedious to do these exercises. So some fundas need to be followed even while exergaming, right? So one should warm up, stretch muscles before the exercises and cool down afterwards. So exergaming systems are primarily used in rehab and sports training facilities, but in finding their ways into some fitness centers as well. So there are many fitness centers who are transforming into exergaming centers. So these exergaming devices, certainly which are PC Game Bike, Neo Racer, Dance Revolution, Eve Toy, some Y Games, Game Size, Cyber Tracer, and the Jog from New Concept Gamings. Okay, we will see some of the gamings with the pictures also in the presentation as well. Please, next, ma'am. Yes, so the study of how exergames affect fitness and health is still in its infancy. It means it's still growing. It has a huge scope in the future, right? So last year, the AHA convened a panel to begin exploring what role is exergaming may play in health and the fitness level, especially in people with the heart disease, as they are at risk for it. So the panel reports that the power play, which is innovation in getting active summit, was certainly published in the journal Circulation. This is the main journal where you can find the article. So while that research is under their way, some experts are very much excited that they may have another way to get adults and children moving, right? So you can become more fit, certainly, with relatively very simple activities. So these games have a very lot of potentials, as Dr. Joe Foddy has said, who is a director of the Cardiovascular Wellness Service at the Harvard Affiliate, Birmingham, and the Women's Hospital, which is told by the Heart Letter. Okay, for now, though, don't let exergaming nudge inside your participation in the real sports and the recreational activity. In terms of energy expended and pure enjoyment, the real thing which are bound to be more healthful and rewarding than the electronic stimulation. Okay, it is not the replacement of the normal fun activities. Okay, these are certain activities which promote exercises in the individuals who are certainly not doing it or due to their tedious attitude or some other perception, right? Please, next, ma'am. So now the main top rehab and physical therapy exergaming products, which I have mentioned that I will show 5 of them, right, in this PPT, right? So these are the Motoko to improve memory, cognitive processing, and certain other things as well. Then there is this other thing which is T-Walk, which is used for developing motor skills. Then the Dynavision, which is helping with the visual motor coordination, and the iDance to DDR system for the agility improvement. Then there is certainly a other device which is known as Pavigym Square, which is 3.0 version, which enhances the balance, speed, and many other physical criteria as well. Please, next, ma'am. Yes, so first of all, Motoko. Now, what is Motoko? So it's an exergame that works on the timing, rhythm, and the response to the stimuli with the entire body. So the Motoko improves the area of memory, speech, learning disabilities, and the cognitive processing, and certain other things as well. So using this Motoko is fun, as well as it's mainly quantifiable result providing device. So it's not only doing this enables therapists to track the progress, but the patients also get motivates as there is increase in the score and levels thereon. So there are certain kind of different lights happening at the different parts. Okay, so at the same point when the light is blinking, they have to just select on it. Okay, so that's where at different places they have to immediately work on at the same time. So this simultaneously happening the exercises and improving the overall bodily response, right? Please, next, ma'am. Now we will talk about the T-wall. So this is popular exergame which can have a large impact in the rehab and the physiotherapy field by stimulating and improving the motor as well as sensory motor skills. So the T-wall works on coordination, training gross and fine motor skills while securing the mobility as well. So the system includes gathering results and also evaluating the individual progress in short and long-term studies as well. So these are certain devices which are very much helpful in quantifying the results which have been produced after the therapies provided to them. Okay, so here also, as you can see, certain kind of lights have been there, and they have to just place the necessary balls or the rings over that light, which will enhance their overall physical activity while they do it simultaneously. Okay, next please, ma'am. Now the other thing is I dance to DDR system. So this is a fun and challenging group exercise dance game of visual perception and the physical skill. So this Exergame focuses mainly on agility, speed, mean balance, coordination, and the reaction time. Okay, so here as we are seeing in this figure, this device is placed on the floor, having certain kind of reaction producing sensors over here. Okay, so while dancing, they have to tap on a particular kind of sensor which is providing light, vibration, or any other kind of stimulation. So while doing that, simultaneously will improve their balance, agility, and speed, along with the coordination as well, with the most exciting fun thing along with it, right? So this is very important and very, very fun activity to do, providing and enhancing the exercise gaming thing. Okay, so next please, ma'am. Now we are talking about the Dynavision. So Dynavision is an exergame that is main the measure of performance and records the data to track improvement. Now training on the Dynavision improves reaction time, visual motor coordination, and peripheral awareness. So it is designed for high performance athletic training, and the D2 can help a quarterback see the whole field while focusing on the downfield receivers. So it can help hitters in baseball recognition, right? So this is very, very helpful exergaming. Next, please, ma'am. Now we will talk about the Pavigym Square 3.0 version. So it's an interactive fitness game that allows user to choose their preferred training and practice multiple and varied exercises at their own level. Okay, so here they can also practice balance, speed, reactions, stability, precision, coordination, agility, mobility, and also the postural control. So working with a partner here enables fun competitions between the participants. So here this Pavigym Square is very much helpful in multi-group activities, and it has a specific feature of doing it in a personalized way according to person's need and level. Okay, so this is very effective thing and very enhanced thing. Next please, ma'am. Now what about the evidences? What evidences suggest about the exergaming and their role in different kind of musculoskeletal, cardio, as well as ortho and neuro conditions, right? So let's see how we can use this exergaming in improving a person's quality of life who is affected with any of the kind of a disease. Next, please, ma'am. First, we will talk about effects of exergaming in the orthopedic conditions. Next, please. So first of all, here we will discuss a scoping review of efficacy of virtual reality and the exergaming of patients of musculoskeletal system disorders. This is a review and meta-analytic article. Okay, so here they are taking almost all the kinds of RCTs here with different kind of what we can say musculoskeletal disorders. So here they are the main purpose of this study is to assess the effects of virtual reality on patients with MSK disorders by means of scoping reviews of RCTs, and here mainly 14 RCTs are included. So when they compared with simple usual care or other form of treatment, there was significant pain relief, increase in functional capacity, reduce symptom of the main disorder, and there is increase in the joint angle for the virtual reality treatment of chronic musculoskeletal disorders. So furthermore, on one patients with acute pain were also able to experience a significant therapeutic effect on their main pain relief. So here, this current evidences support that virtual reality treatment as having a significant effect on pain relief, increased joint mobility or motor function of patient with the chronic musculoskeletal disorders. And it seems to be quite effective in revealing pain of patients with acute burns as well. So here it shows that it is mainly affected in many of the musculoskeletal disorders and burns as well. Next, please, ma'am. Now, what are the effects of exergaming in neurological conditions? We will see it. Okay, next, please. So now the effectiveness of exergaming on balance, functional mobility, and independence, and health-related quality of life among the patients with the chronic stroke. This is a systemic review and a meta-analysis, which is a recent study done in 2021. So this is mainly done on chronic patients who are experiencing drastically reduce their rehab intensity once past a subacute kind of phase of a stroke. So compounding with the declining motivation, the recovery often stagnates to result in remnanting disability that hinders their independent and comfortable ambulation, right? The main problem here for the stroke survivors. Several clinical trials have explored the use of this exergame to sustain engagement among chronic stroke patients requiring further rehab. So here, 4,511 records were retrieved, with 32 RCTs were eligible for the inclusion criteria and 27 RCTs were included in the meta-analysis. So the meta-analysis reported statistically significant among the small sizes, favoring that exergaming is helping on. Now we will see what are certain difference between exergaming and the conventional therapy on quality of life in Parkinson's disease. All right. So this is also a systemic review and a meta-analysis. Okay, so PD is basically a motor neurodegenerative conditions, right? With having both motor and a non-motor symptoms, right? We all are aware of this, which certainly affects the quality of life of the older adults, right? So here, the exergaming rehab allows the interaction of the subject with digital games through the implementation of repetitive functional activity. All right. So this helps. This exercise is promoted by doing it in repetitive format in a functional activity form. So conventional physiotherapy use patient-centered programs that include a variety of active exercises. Okay, so here total of 548 participants were included in total of 14 studies. So here they have shown that rehab methods can provide alternative interactive intervention with positive results for the quality of life in patients with Parkinson's disease when they have been given the therapy which is exergaming. All right. So this is very much effective in the Parkinson's disease as well. Next, please. Now we will see about physiological responses which are happening to the exergaming after a spinal cord injuries. So this study was done in 2012. So this study was mainly purposely done to evaluate systematically the efficacy of exergames for balance dysfunction in neurological conditions and to identify the factors of exergaming protocols which influence their effects certainly. So there are 41 main 41 main studies were included, okay, which fulfills the meta-analysis criteria with a total of 1,223 patients included. So this disease under investigation were stroke, Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis, mild cognitive impairments or early Alzheimer's, traumatic brain injury and myelopathy were also investigated along with these studies. So the beneficial effect of exergaming could be maintained for at least 4 weeks after the discontinuation of the exercise, but the retention effect was specifically explored in only 11 studies. Thus, it requires further investigation. Now, mild to moderate adverse events were reported in a minority of studies. Here, the estimated or low risk of bias mainly attributed to the lack of double blindness and not reported intentions to treat analysis. So this study concluded that the pooled evidences suggest that exergames improve balance dysfunction and are safe in several neurological conditions. Okay, so the findings of high frequency interventions associated with large effect size, together with the possible sustainable effects of exergame, may guide treatment decision and informs in the further research. Next, please, ma'am. Now we will see the effect of exergaming on the health of elderly patients. Next, please. So here, this study where the effect of cognitive motor training interventions on the executive function in older adults. This is also a review and a meta-analysis where a total of 1,557 studies were involved and 11 studies where technological-based dual task interventions were used. Next, please, ma'am. So certainly they concluded that the cognitive motor and technological based intervention has a positive effect on some cognitive functions as well. Now, dual task interventions certainly lead to improvement of domains related global cognitive function inhibitory control. Likewise, technological based exergaming interventions certainly improve the function related to processing speed, attention, and the inhibitory control. So training interventions with a certain level of exercises load, such as progression in difficulty and task specificity, were more effective to gain task-related adaptation on cognitive functions. Next, please. So now we will see the effect of exergaming in the pediatric condition. Next, please, ma'am. So here the autism and exergaming were done by seeing the effects on repetitive behavior and the cognition. Okay, so this study, next, please. So this study has shown that the additional research is also needed. Next, please. Now we will see how this affects on the cardiopulmonary conditions. Okay, so here exergaming in older adults, it is also scoping review and implementation were made for patients with the heart failure. Okay, so here 15 articles they have found and 11 articles were included in this study. And here they are concluding that this research field is very small and they need a very specific kind of research, which is promising, as the sir suggests, qualitative research is necessary to get included in this study. So they have said that, yes, they need further study to generalize the result for the exergaming effects for the heart failure patients. Next, please. Now they have done a systematic review and a meta-analysis for the effectiveness of virtual reality on exercise intervention for individualities with the respiratory conditions. All right, so these respiratory conditions here, next please, are also the main treatment where we can provide. Okay, so they have concluded that virtual reality as an intervention can provide options for rehab, which have been given the moderate effect for the dyspnea, and it is equivalent to weak effect for mean and maximum peak heart rate and SpO2 as well. So this is very important to provide here in the patients where their physical activity as in certain normal way is not being advised in certain very much difficult conditions of pulmonary area. Next, please. So now we will see how it affects on oncological conditions, right? Next, please. Now the feasibility, acceptability, and outcomes of exergaming among cancer patient have been shown. Okay, so here this study has shown that most participants were enjoying this intervention and they would recommend the use of exergames with the preferred games and the standard care of treatment. Okay, so this certainly improve balance, function, physical activity levels, strength, fatigues, and emotions, along with cognitions and pain as well. Next, please, ma'am. Okay, so this is how it varies, and there are different ways for the different stages and the conditions of the patient. Next, please. Now the main conclusion with the clinical implication, the main thing. Okay, so the exergaming fitness philosophy is to create fun, exciting environment where the world of technology and fitness intersects, right? So it is found that through active gaming, from the youngest child to the active older adults, okay, even patients with different health conditions, when we combine certain products, activities, and movement with a proven fitness principle and the training protocol, it creates a very energetic and engaging atmosphere, motivating movements, which ultimately promotes health, wellness in the community. So it's the unique blend of technology, fun, and fitness that makes the Exergaming room a very, very smart choice and a future of the physiotherapy. So here I conclude my session. Next, please. Okay, so as Steve Jobs says, the technology is nothing. What's important is that you have a faith in people, that they are basically good and smart enough. And if you give them certain tools, they will do wonderful things with them. So with games, we are providing the exercise here. So that's how we are helping the society. Next, please. So thank you. Here I certainly conclude. Thank you, Stride and the Saveetha College for promoting and helping by providing such a huge platform here. Okay, it's much gratitude from my side.
Thank you, ma'am. It was really an interesting session. Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am. We look forward to you for such more sessions in the future. Thank you, ma'am.
Definitely, ma'am.
Next, ma'am.